Welcome back to Aerodynamics. Okay, so I've been getting backlogged on a bunch of these videos that I want to record. Been really busy with the band. We have shows coming up basically every weekend this month, and then a good deal of shows heading all the way through September. We even have some shows already scheduled for November. And so, yeah, been really busy with that. Also, after my root canal, which I mentioned in the previous video, I got another tooth infection. So I've been fighting that. I've been really under the weather due to that. A little bit of swelling, you can, this side. A little bit of swelling, you can kind of still see it, but luckily the antibiotics are kicking in and I'm starting to feel a little better, and I want to try to get caught up on a bunch of these videos that I've been planning on putting out. I know there's a response video to some comments and to another video that another content creator had created. I wasn't sure if they put the video up yet, but I think I recently saw that they had a while ago, so I didn't see it. So unfortunately I hadn't gotten to that timely, but I do plan on watching the video and doing a response to that. So that will be coming at some point. I enjoyed the exchange. Very polite content creator that just happens to disagree with me on quite a few things, which is really cool. I appreciate it when people are polite and kind in their responses, even when they disagree. I love that. This video is going to be discussing another video that I watched, but it's also going to be referencing some comments from another individual who disagreed with a previous video of mine. They, on the other hand, were not so polite and not so kind, but that's fine. That's fine as well. But let's just go ahead and kind of give you the premise for this video real quick here. I watched a video from a content creator called Daily Dose of Wisdoms reacting to a Joe Rogan video where the title of Daily Dose of Wisdom's video was Joe Rogan, the questions atheism can't answer. And so I'm not going to do a whole lot of reacting to their video. I'm more also reacting to the Joe Rogan video, but I didn't want it to seem like I was leaving out that bit of information just in case any of the content from that creator comes through in my video. I definitely want to reference that here. I'm not going to say I'm never going to, but my content doesn't usually involve me watching and reacting to other people's videos, so I'm not really taking away any sort of views. Not that I get a lot of views, I get very little views, so hopefully no one feels like I'm stealing content, but just reacting without actually watching the video. So if you want to watch the video, go check them out. Again, the content creator was Daily Dose of Wisdoms, and the video title was Joe Rogan, the questions atheism can't answer. The Joe Rogan video, not quite sure what the title of that would have been, but I'm assuming it's an excerpt from one of his long form shows, and yeah, so you would have to do some research to figure out where that came from. Not 100% sure where that came from, but if you watch Daily Dose of Wisdom's video, you can kind of try to figure out what episode it was from. Okay, so the Daily Dose of Wisdom's title is not exactly how I'm looking at this. The questions atheism can't answer. My take and how this references to my previous video and some comments that I had received on that is that neither religion nor science have all the answers, right? Religion cannot prove that God exists. There's nothing that proves that God exists. You have faith in God. Science answers a lot more questions with actual facts than religion does, but even science doesn't have all of the answers. And as someone who is a strong believer in the scientific method, I really do appreciate science in that aspect of it. You shouldn't think that science has all the answers. So when you start saying that science is the answer to everything, you actually kind of do a disservice to science, to the scientific method, the scientific process, because you should know that science is always questioning. They never have a final answer. It's always, what is the answer currently based on the evidence and the tests and the trials and things that we've done so far. And those are always open to change. Always. Even things that we consider hard, fast rules. Say something like gravity, right? Gravity is something that's been proven to a great extent. However, there are still questions about exactly how gravity works and how it works within other scientific theories and processes, and it could always change. So even something that we consider to be a fact could change at some point in time, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what makes us human. We are humans. We search for our best explanation for the things that we observe, and that's the scientific method. Religion isn't that, and I never claimed it was. And anybody who is a true believer should also not claim that it is. It is not an answer to everything. It does not have a way to prove these things. These things are based on faith. That is actually what religion is. It is faith. And so, so the faith aspect of it. Religions, churches are separate from religion, faith, right? So try to keep those separate, because that could be confusing a little bit. Religions aren't what I'm talking about. I am Catholic, but my faith is in God. My faith is in Christ, not the Catholic Church. I am a follower of the Catholic Church. I do not have faith in the Catholic Church, if that makes sense. And so the religion, though, the faith aspect of religion, is just that. And I would never tell an atheist that I have proven God exists and they should believe in God because I have proven God exists. I will tell them that I have faith that God exists, and they have not proven to me that God does not exist, right? And so that was where some of the comments came in, was, it's not their responsibility to prove to me that God doesn't exist. And I didn't say it was. It's not their job to prove to me that God doesn't exist. But it's also not my job to prove to them that God does exist, and they insist upon that. So that's a them problem, not a me problem. So my goal is not to convince you that God exists through fact. My belief is that some people can be convinced that God exists through faith. Anyways, so going into that comment, I'm not going to read it because I don't want to go back and find it, but basically the concept was that I'm using what's called some sort of logical fallacy that has to do with filling in the gaps with God, right? But I'm not, because I'm not trying to prove it, right? So it's not a fallacy if I'm not saying it's a fact. It is my faith. And so without me trying to prove to you that God exists, then I am not committing that fallacy. I'm not committing a fallacy at all. I'm just letting you know what my faith is. You do not have to believe it. If you do, wonderful. I embrace you as a brother in Christ, regardless of what religion you are. I know a lot of people question, the Catholic's position on a lot of things. So I'm very sensitive to those sorts of things. You can be any sort of Christian you want to be, and I am not going to say that you're any less Christian than I am. But I also, don't accept the fact that I'm less of a Christian than you are. So I have friends who disagree with that premise, and that's fine. We can disagree on that. Anyways, so I don't believe that I'm committing any sort of logical fallacy. And if you think that I am, well, then this probably isn't the video for you either, because here we go. So the concept of this video is that, as we're getting into it, we're already almost 10 minutes into the video. The premise of the video is that that there is certain aspects of science that require faith, just as there are certain aspects of religion that require faith. And by that, I mean science has no evidence, or very minimal evidence that that something is the way that they proclaim it to be. Now, I'm not going to say that the Big Bang falls in this category. The Big Bang definitely has evidence to support the concept of the Big Bang, right? But what caused the Big Bang does not. There really isn't a good explanation for what caused the Big Bang. There's some different theories and things like that. Some different, well, that would be more of a hypothesis. It's not something that's really kind of been put too much thought into as far as proving it. But the Big Bang kind of doesn't really have an ignition, as it were. And how did the ignition happen, and how did the matter come to be that exploded out during this Big Bang, right? And so you have to have some sort of like faith that there's that there get it there is there's something outside of our finite ability to observe, right? That's one of the explanations for the Big Bang, is that the Big Bang created time, right? And so there's something that has always existed. The Big Bang, we don't know what preceded it exactly, and we don't know what caused it. But it was definitely something outside of our concept of time and our ability to observe, because we don't know, and we can't see it, and we can't observe it. We can only hypothesize about it, right? And so there is an idea of faith in that, right? That this get your water. Tried to get water from the refrigerator, ice and water from the refrigerator quietly. No, can't do that.
It's good to hydrate.
Oh, definitely. I definitely think you should hydrate more. It's a hot day. All right. Anyways, so basically, there is an aspect of faith to that. You have to believe that something outside of our ability to observe time and space, is involved in that. And for you, that's something that is not God. And for us, it is something that is God. So therefore, my thought is that while I call it God, you don't have to call it God, but really we kind of have the same idea. Something caused this thing to happen, right? And my explanation is an infinite God, something that, a God that is not confined by our time and space. Anyways, then proceeding from the Big Bang, everything happens, and everything is, everything, what's the word? Everything, there's some evolutionary processes, there's some, how the solar system was created by the gases, coalescing and then forming off, the sun being created, and the outside substances that were not part of the sun then started forming into planets and that sort of thing, right? So those things all took place, and we know they took place. Science, shows us that those things took place, and that, that is a more than likely scenario, right? However, the fact that it comes, all of those things require the probability of those things happening is so small that as you get closer and closer to the humans, it becomes more and more the probability of it happening is so small that you start to think, okay, is there enough? Is the universe so large, and are there so many examples of it that that the probability is sufficiently resolved by the fact that this process has happened millions and billions of times throughout the universe, and of course finally one of them will come to us? No, apparently not. Apparently, and this video discusses that the probability is so small that even with all of the attempts to create it, the probability of the Earth still coming together and human life evolving is still so infinitesimally small that there's not enough examples or attempts at creating it for us to have evolved. So again, if that's the case, and I am kind of taking that at face value without doing the type of research that it would take to be able to confirm that for sure, because that it would be extensive, and so maybe there'll be a comment of someone who has done that, and maybe they know the numbers and the probability and how likely it is to have happened, and if we have if we have done something so shocking based on those numbers, that you would have to say that that it shouldn't have been possible. Or if it was, if there's so many examples of it, possibly happening, that it was inevitable, right? And this is kind of the question of whether or not there are aliens or not. Is like, well, there's so many planets out there, stars and planets circling the stars, that of course there has to be other life in the universe. While I believe there is, even as a religious person, I believe there's life in other parts of the universe. I don't know that's the case. That probability, does it say that there should be, because it's so, even though it's so unlikely to happen because so many attempts throughout the universe to create the same living conditions and everything else that go into what it took to get us to this point, of course it's happened before. I don't know. That it would seem to me that no, that maybe we are an anomaly. So what the video talks about is that there is this theory out there that the only way that it would be possible for us to get to this point is the multiverse theory. So not only do we have one universe that has all of these things happening, right, that would finally get to this one planet that has this one possibility of life, that has this one example of life that evolves to this one point where it is us. That you need to have multiple universes attempting to do this to finally get to us, right? So, in that theory, there is also a large amount of faith, because we don't have evidence of a multiverse, right? And not multiverse like the comic books and like the movies that we've been watching lately, like the actual, there's multiple universes that are parallel to each other that we can, somehow, yes or no, interact with in a way, right? So if there are multiple universes, then the probability becomes more likely, because you're seeing that this universe has been attempted multiple times, and so the probability of getting to us is even more likely, because even though it's such a small probability of getting to us, it's been attempted so many times. It's like the lottery. If you go out and you buy the number of tickets that the one in whatever it is chance of winning, if you bought all the tickets, well, you're going to win, right? Now, I mean, you spent more money on the tickets than you had a chance to win in most cases, and that's why it doesn't happen. I think it's maybe happened once, and that's an interesting story for a different video. But if it was something that was so likely, then people with a lot of money would be going out and buying all the possible combinations every lottery to win, right? But no, it's so unlikely that you're going to win that buying all those possibilities is, you're going to spend more money than you win in the lottery. That's what it's like with this, where it's so many multiverses and so many examples within each universe that eventually we have to exist. I know that's not how probability works exactly, because, just because there's a 1 in whatever chance of something happening doesn't mean that, it's not exactly like lottery, because there's not a, those are the only examples that, those are the only combinations. Eventually you can get duplicate, with ours, example of the universe, you can get duplicate results resulting in not us. So anyways, rambling. Basically the idea that there's a multiverse is how we get to be able to say that we could exist just by the probability of it. There's a lot of faith in that. There's not a scientific evidence for the existence of a multiverse to the degree or at all that would prove it, right? So you have to have faith in that concept. So if you believe in the multiverse, then that's requires some faith. And then, so what they were talking about in this video is that multiverse theory versus the phenomenon of fine-tuning, meaning that there is a fine-tuner who goes through and keeps trying these different variations to be able to get to this point, rather than a multiverse, right? So, and that fine-tuner for those that are religious is God, or gods, depending on the religion. Some religions have multiple gods, but, in those cases, even a lot of them, this is a fun little side topic, even a lot of the religions that have multiple gods, a lot of those religions say that even though there's multiple gods, they are all part of the one God, right? They're just different aspects of the one God. Kind of how, like, Catholics, Christians in general, but specifically Catholics focus on the Trinity, right? Where there's God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. They're all part of the one God, but they, we look at them as different aspects of God. So anyways, that's another side tangent, another side video. So you either have this fine-tuner or you have this multiverse theory that gets us to us, and both require some sort of faith. And so that's just the concept of the video. It seemed really interesting to me, something I wanted to talk about. I personally love the idea of a multiverse, even with a fine-tuner. How else is he doing the fine-tuning? How else is God creating us? It could be a number of different ways, but could it be he's creating multiple universes to do that? It's possible. I like that idea. That's interesting to me. I don't think there are limits on the way that God could have created this entire thing that we have that came to us, right? And I don't put limits on that. So could it have been through a multiverse? Possibly. Could he have just created the one universe and then experimented or figured out a way to create us? Could it have been as the creationists say, and that he all just made it happen, like and it happened within 6,000 years, and he just made things look like it took longer than it did. I mean, that's possible too, but I'm more of the mindset that it took as long as we think that he did it with science. Like he actually used science to create everything. That's my take on it, anyways. And so that's the topic, again, for another conversation. But basically this video is going a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but I thought it was an interesting topic. I wanted to cover it, and so that's that. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good day. Oh, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm supposed to say that. If you don't, I don't care. Because, I do these videos for myself. But if anybody else wants to watch them, if you want to follow these videos that I put out there, definitely do that. I love interacting with people in the comments. It doesn't happen nearly enough, and so whenever it happens, I really appreciate it. So I really like you guys. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and commenting, and I will see you another time. Take care. Bye.